Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. I'm honestly so thrilled you're here today because we're tackling something that literally almost all of us are struggling with right now. You know that frustrating sense of brain fog lately? Like you just can't focus the way you used to? Well, I'm here to tell you your feelings are entirely valid. Today we're going to look under the hood at the hidden neurological mechanics behind exactly why that's happening. We're unpacking how scrolling is affecting your brain, and more importantly, how to get your thoughts back.
So I want you to answer this honestly for yourself. When was the last time you read an entire page of a book, or honestly, even just a single paragraph, without instinctively reaching for your phone? If you're feeling that visceral pain of a shrinking attention span, you are absolutely not alone. You know, it used to be so easy to just sit down and read for an hour. But now, man, it feels like a Herculean task.
Okay, let's dive into this because it's an experience that hits incredibly close to home. You used to have your own original thoughts, right? But now, it often feels like half of the things that come out of your mouth are just recycled sound bites from some short video you watched 3 days ago. And listen, this feeling of lost original thought, it's not just you being lazy. It's happening because a very specific, vital part of your brain is literally offline.
Enter the default mode network. So this is the brain region responsible for all your original creative thinking. It's the part that comes online when you're staring out a window or enjoying a coffee without screens or just taking a walk and enjoying nature. I know, it might sound like the quote-unquote boring part of the brain, but it's brilliant, and it is absolutely essential. But here's the catch, and this is a big one. It only turns on when you are completely unstimulated. The very second you try to fill a quiet gap with digital input, this brilliant network just shuts off entirely. If you fill every quiet moment with scrolling, your default mode network never even gets the chance to turn on.
And well, this perfectly explains why we keep reaching for our phones anyway, doesn't it? Our dopamine has been completely recalibrated. There's this fascinating book called Dopamine Nation by Dr. Anna Lembke, and her research shows that when you flood your brain with constant, high dopamine inputs, like rapid-fire social media scrolling, your brain actually tries to compensate. It literally drops your baseline dopamine level below where you started. Because of this, normal, slow things, like a neighborhood walk or a focused conversation, suddenly feel totally flat and unbearable. They require way too much friction, while scrolling is just so incredibly easy.
So the crucial point is this number right here. 4. It takes exactly 4 weeks of pulling back from these high dopamine activities to truly reset that baseline. Not 3 days, not a quick weekend detox, 4 full weeks. And the sad truth is, most people who try to cut back give up on day 5, which is exactly when their brain is actually about to start feeling better. It's going to feel weird and boring at first for sure, but you really have to push through that 4-week mark.
Now, we also need to address a really dangerous myth we tell ourselves, the idea that scrolling is a form of true rest. We say things like, oh, I worked hard today, I'm just going to decompress and scroll. To understand why this is a trap, we have to look at polyvagal theory, developed by Dr. Stephen Porges. This scientific framework identifies 3 distinct states of our nervous system: safety, fight or flight, and freeze.
And this brilliantly illustrates the difference. True restorative rest, where you're calm, alert, and your default mode network is happily humming along online, that only happens in the safety zone. But scrolling, it actively traps you in the freeze state. You zone out, your body feels heavy and overwhelmed, you go completely numb, and time just disappears. You aren't resting, your nervous system is simply shutting down.
It's a double loss. You don't get the rest you came for, and you don't get your thoughts back either. Just let that emotional weight sink in for a second. Because you're stuck in that freeze state, you aren't actually getting the rest you desperately came for. And because you aren't in a state of safety, your default mode network stays offline, meaning you don't get your original thoughts back either. It's a lose-lose situation. But hey, the good news is we can fix this.
All right, let's talk solutions. This is the Reboot Protocol, 5 low-friction habits.
Habit number 1, read out loud or read along with an audiobook. Think about it, after years of scrolling, our eyes have essentially been trained to just skim for the next dopamine hit. We'll read a profound, life-changing book the exact same way we read a superficial comment section, just fast, surface level, always looking for the next thing. But reading out loud, or pacing yourself to an audiobook, that physically forces your brain to slow down. It registers the information entirely differently and beautifully anchors you right back in the present moment.
Habit number 2 is all about physical motion. Keep your hands busy with low-stakes objects. A huge part of our screen addiction isn't even about the content we're consuming. It's literally just the physical habit of holding something and the motion of moving our thumbs. So leave an open notebook on your desk. Keep a lip balm nearby. Play with a Rubik's Cube, some worry beads, or honestly, just doodle terribly in the margins of your notebook.
By replacing your phone with something tactile and low stakes, you give your hands the sensory input they're craving without hijacking your brain's dopamine. Moving on to habit 3. Walk completely unplugged. So many of us are productivity fanatics now, right? We want to habit stack everything, filling every physical activity with an audiobook or a podcast cranked up to 2 times speed. But the irony is that constantly flooding your brain with input to be hyperproductive actually creates this underlying low-level anxiety. By simply taking a walk without anything in your ears, you are finally giving your default mode network the quiet, open space it desperately needs to process information and generate those creative ideas.
Let's move to habit 4 and see how this builds. Do one slow thing daily that you absolutely refuse to optimize. Start small here. Maybe it's taking 5 to 10 minutes to drink your morning matcha or coffee without looking at a screen. Or maybe it's just taking a shower without playing a podcast in the background. By fiercely protecting just one daily task from digital intrusion, you are actively teaching your nervous system that being unstimulated isn't dangerous. Actually, it's safe, calm, and deeply restorative.
And finally, habit 5. Introduce single-use objects. We're talking a physical alarm clock, a handwritten paper journal, or even a standalone calculator. Yes, the exact kind you probably haven't seen since middle school math class. Listen, our phones are impossible to resist magnets precisely because they do absolutely everything. When you pick up your phone just to set an alarm, 30 seconds later you're mindlessly scrolling because the apps are right there staring at you. By outsourcing these basic tasks to physical, single-use objects in your home, you completely kill the excuse to pick up your phone in the first place.
And if you push through that initial friction, you reach this next stage, the payoff, a sensory awakening.
You know, you'll start to notice that the light in your kitchen at 4 p.m. looks absolutely amazing in a way it never did before. When your hands are no longer permanently fused to a glowing rectangle, your dormant sense of touch literally wakes up. You'll find yourself wanting to feel the intriguing texture of a stone on your walk, or really notice the fabric of your clothes. You'll suddenly realize how rich your morning coffee smells, and you'll actually hear the birds that have always lived in your neighborhood but were just drowned out by your headphones. The world just becomes rich and textured again.
Which brings us to our final thought. I want to issue you a bit of a challenge right now. Put the screen down. Literally, look away from this explainer entirely. What does your physical environment feel like right now in this exact moment? Go reconnect with something real.